Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Now today is a very special list because I'm actually not here in Colorado Springs, I'm on vacation. So right now I'm celebrating my honeymoon with my wife Ariana, and we are having a great time on our trip. So we are being safe, definitely. We are fully vaccinated, and we are definitely taking all of these safety precautions in mind, but just wanted to let you guys know that that's what's happening right now. And that's what inspired this list. So this list is actually the top 10 board games to take with you when traveling. So I hope that some of you can take ideas from this list and take them with you when you are traveling. Make sure to stay safe out there, but definitely take some much needed rest and relaxation. And I hope these games can help you do that. So before we start this list, I do have two honorable mentions, and that is going to be Zombicide Travel Edition. So Zombicide Travel Edition is the second edition of Zombicide in a tiny little box. So you simply unflick this little latch here, and inside you have the entire game of Zombicide 2nd Edition. Oh, there went some pieces. So you have these cute little walkers and fatties. You've got these tiny little cards that represent the different characters' weapons. That is just a shrunk down version of Zombicide 2nd Edition, and I think that is really cool. I've yet to try this edition, but I've played Zombicide 2nd Edition a bunch of times, and I really enjoy it. So I think that this would make a great addition. So hopefully we get a chance to try this on our trip. We'll see. So that's my first honorable mention. My second honorable mention is the Exit games. So Exit's a great line of escape room games, but they are consumable. So you can only play them once, and afterwards you can really just throw them away, because during these games you're going to be cutting up and kind of modifying the actual components itself. So just be aware that is going to happen. Now that being said, it adds for some really cool innovation to the game, and since you're bringing this with you on a vacation, you play the game, you throw it away afterwards, you got some room for souvenirs and stuff. Pretty cool idea. But if that's not your cup of tea and you want something that'll, you could play a couple more times on your trip, definitely try something else. And that's why this makes the honorable mentions. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, Skull. Skull is a bluffing game where you are trying to reveal flowers without hitting skulls. If you get hit skulls, you lose a life. If you reveal flowers, then boom, you've got a victory. Win twice, you win the whole game. Skull makes a fantastic travel game because when you play, you actually can take the pieces and put them straight into your hand. So you'll have all of your flowers and your skull and then your coaster, and you just simply place them like this, and boom, you're playing right there. This makes a great game to play online, and it's just really fun, really challenging, and it's got some great metagame moments. This is just a great game you can play anywhere. Last time I played this, I was on a boat. Pretty awesome, great game. That's Skull. Number 9 is a small cooperative game, and this is going to be The Mind. In The Mind, you're going to be playing with limited communication, no speaking at all, only timing and tempo are going to be your allies to blindly, without telling each other what cards you have, you're going to be playing the cards from your hand to try to go from 1 to 100, going from lowest to highest. So it's a really straightforward game, but very challenging, and will have you coming back for more and more and more. The game plays very quickly, so it's one that you can pull out and play anywhere. It doesn't take a lot of space, and it plays up to 4 players really, really well. In addition, if you want a challenge, you can play The Mind Extreme, which amps up the difficulty. So in both of these games, you have those numbers, but in The Mind Extreme, in particular, you have 2 sets of numbers, and one will be going up, and one will be going down, and sometimes you'll be playing stuff face down. It's definitely a harder version of The Mind, but if you're going for just solid, good fun, I would recommend either version. I definitely recommend The Mind before Mind Extreme, though. So if you haven't played this one, play this one first. It's a blast. So that's my number 9, The Mind. Number 8 is a game all about questions. This is Spyfall. In Spyfall, everybody is at a location. Everybody knows where you're at except for the spy. And the way you're going to be playing is you're trying to either, if you're not a spy, try to figure out who the spy is by stumping him on questions. Or if you are the spy, your job is to, blend in without giving yourself away and try to figure out where everybody else is. So Spyfall lends itself really well to travel because there's no board. You're playing with a conversation. The cards are merely the guide to that conversation. And I think that is super awesome. You can play with a lot of people, so it's a great big group game if you've got a lot of people with you. And I think that just makes for a fantastic experience, great memories, and a really cool metagame. It's wonderful. Now, before you do go traveling with Spyfall, I recommend that you go to BoardGameGeek.com and print out some of these. These are location references. That way, when you're playing the game, you can give one of these to every player, and that way everybody kind of is on the same level. Everybody knows what's going on. There's going to be nobody that has advantage over another based on them just not knowing the location. No spy is going to reveal themselves. And plus, you don't have to pass around the actual rule book because everybody has their own reference. So I think that's definitely key. You need to make sure that that is printed out beforehand. Otherwise, it'll be really hard to make sure that it is an even playing field. But if you do that, it is a wonderful travel game. So that's my number 8, Spyfall. Number 7 is an auctioning game where you play as a bunch of rich people. This is high society, and you're going to be spending money on lavish things, and whoever has the most lavish things at the end of the game wins. But if you spent the most, you automatically lose. High society features a very cool auction style where you're going to be playing cards into the area, and each card has a value. And when you play the cards, they're stuck until you drop out, then you get them all back. But you can add additional cards to your values. So this is interesting because the values range from 1 to 25. So you may have to overbid to get something you really want, which is interesting because normally in an auction game you have kind of free range, but here the cards constrict you, and I think that's really interesting. So I really like that, and I also really enjoy the negative cards in this game. So this game has lots of bad cards, and you're bidding to not take them. And if you're the one who actually takes the card, everyone else loses the money they bid. So it's really strong swing plays, but those negative cards are really bad. So it's all about knowing when to give and when to take. Fantastic auction game. And the reason it's great for traveling is really because it's small and it doesn't take up a lot of space on the table. You usually have one card that you're bidding for, and everybody's bidding kind of on top of it. So not a big deal here space-wise, but a great, really rewarding, awesome game. That's High Society, my number 7. My number 6 is a hand building game. This is going to be Fantasy Realms. In Fantasy Realms, you are trying to assemble a group of cards that all can score and combo with one another. You have lots of cool potential by drafting all sorts of these fantasy races with all sorts of unique powers. Some might give you bonuses for having specific warriors or artifacts in your hand. Some might be a reward you if you have all different colors. You have lots of cool ways to score in this game, and I think it's a blast. Now, the reason it's a great travel game is you are playing with your hand of cards. So it's all in your hand. You're holding it. So you're playing your cards, and when you take a turn, you'll draw a card from the deck or from the center of the table, and then you add it to your hand and discard one. So the game's over when 10 cards have been discarded, face up, and boom, you score your hand. So really straightforward, really easy to play, and once again, you're really focused on your hand as opposed to a busy board. So I really like that. I think it's a great travel game, and this game system is just wonderful. Love Fantasy Realms. Really excited to try out this expansion. That's my number 6. Number 5 is another auction game, and this is going to be one of the most pure auction games. This is For Sale. For Sale, you play house flippers. Your job is to, in the first phase, use your money to bid on houses, and then in the second phase, use those houses to trade them in for value, cash. So really straightforward mechanisms, but really rewarding and interesting gameplay. This is one of the easiest games to teach people, and it's really fun. They did a great job with this whole design. I love how it scales to different player counts. I love the bidding, and I love the way that you're always bidding on the best house. It's a great package. It makes a great travel game because you really can condense this box very small, and when you play, it scales to the player count, and it's just a small box for an incredible short game. Here's the back of the box for Sale. So that's all of the houses that are available for purchase there. So that's my number 5 For Sale. Number 4 is Biblios. So Biblios is another auctioning game. So this is the last one on the list, I swear. But this game is my favorite filler, period. It's wonderful, it's short, and it offers so many complex, rich decisions. I love this game. It features 2 halves similar to For Sale, but in these halves you're doing a push your luck style game in the first half while you're acquiring cards that set you up for a future bidding phase. It's incredible. The choices are quick, fast, but so meaty and fun. It is a wonderful game. The reason it's great for travel, small box, really easy to put on the table, really easy to play, really easy to get invested in, and really cool to think about afterwards. This will give you a game that you're going to want to come back to and keep on playing. Here's the back of the box for Biblios. This is what it looks like with kind of the cards in the middle. You've got some dice that represent the points that the different cards will be worth at the end of the game if you have the most of them. Super fantastic. I love the style, and I love the simplicity and readability of these cards. It's just a wonderful game all around. So that is my number 4, Biblios. My number 3 is the only roll and write on this list, and that is going to be Gone Shon Clever. In Gone Shon Clever, you're going to roll some dice, pick the dice, and if you pick a high dice, you lose all the ones lower than it. So it's an interesting choice of picking lower dice to get more options in the future, or picking high dice to get that strong bonus now. So you have a lot of cool, tense decisions, and I really enjoy it. Now, the best part of this game are the combos. Whenever you pick something in this game, it's going to unlock something else, and you're going to go combo, 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 and it's just super rewarding, super fun. Now, the reason it makes a great travel game is because you can simply pull the top off of this, set it on in front of you, put it in your lap, whatever, and you now have a dice tray to play the game. It's super easy to play on a plane, in the car. I find myself enjoying this one a lot. Now, there is a great app implementation of this, but I really like rolling the dice, and this one's a great time. There was a time I was on a really long flight to Paris, and I pulled this one out and played several games, almost took out that whole sheet. So super fun. I really enjoy Gone Shon Clever. If you get a chance, try this one out. That's my number 3. Number 2 and number 1 are very similar in the way they do things, but also drastically different in their theme and everything else. And we'll just go ahead and jump into number 2. This is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, you play a group of detectives that are kind of tailing a case that Sherlock is solving. Your job is to follow leads and try to do the case better than Sherlock. It's nigh impossible. Sherlock is incredible, but battling your wits against this man is a lot of fun. It's super challenging, super rewarding, but it's a blast. So Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, wonderful game. It features a fantastic map of London that you'll be kind of going around, and you can see all sorts of cool hints and clues based on newspapers, maps, everything. But the reason this game makes a great travel game is you can read this entirely aloud. So you can play this without actively watching or playing. So you can play this while driving, which I think is amazing. You can participate in the game. You can enjoy the game. You can do all sorts of stuff while still, focusing on the task at hand, driving, working around somewhere else. It's really, really rewarding that you can do this while being consumed by something else. And I think that is amazing that this game satisfies that. So hugely narrative-based, but really rewarding gameplay. And that list of questions at the end, if you're able to nail some of those, you feel so good when you are able to do it as well as Sherlock. So really enjoy this game, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It's a blast. So that's my number 2. Now, number 1, like I said, is very similar in the style of game, but completely different theme, and this is Legacy of Dragonhold. So Legacy of Dragonhold has you playing as a party of fantasy adventurers. You are going to be going from town to town, to place, doing adventures, exploring, interacting, and just having a blast. So your job is to kind of figure out what the best choices are based on your party composition and your skills, and make decisions. It is a lot of fun to go on adventures and to explore this fantasy land. Now, very similarly to Sherlock Holmes, this is another game that is entirely narrative-based, where you're going to be reading things aloud. So it's very straightforward with, hey, you can engage in this even if you are driving. Everybody can play. So this is a great couples game. This is a great game for a whole car full of people, and it keeps everyone involved and everyone entertained. It's a blast. Legacy of Dragonhold is super good. Now, Sherlock Holmes and Legacy of Dragonhold could be switched interchangeably. I like Legacy of Dragonhold a little bit more. I love the adventure, I love the big story that you're telling, and when you are driving, generally you're going to be driving for a long period of time, so you can really dig into a story here. I think that's super fun. So I really enjoy Legacy of Dragonhold, my number 1 for travel games. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say. What are your favorite travel games? What did you bring with you on vacation? I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. Do you agree with any of my picks? What games would you suggest instead? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time, your viewership, and I really appreciate everything you've done for this channel. If you aren't subscribed yet, please hit that button. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching. Side Game Strong.